Thank goodness for JMU. Locked on Sunbelt.
You are Locked on Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome back to another edition of Locked on Sunbelt, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. 9 games this weekend, actually 10 with South Alabama and App State. 3 were won by Sunbelt teams. 3. Troy, JMU, and South Alabama. Ouch. Some of them expected to be ugly, and they were. Others were just not pretty. All right, so let's go over the big winner of the weekend, and that was JMU in a ball game that I'm not sure anyone would have predicted. If you told me North Carolina scored 50, I would have thought you would have told me they would have won by 2 or 3 touchdowns. They actually lost by more than 3 touchdowns. JMU puts a 70 spot up over North Carolina, 70-50. JMU had 53 points at halftime. Like, they scored more points in the first 30 minutes than Carolina did in the entirety. And, I mean, this is the way this game went. This is crazy. This is the first half, all right? Try and keep up. JMU field goal. Carolina fumble, JMU punt. Punt was blocked into a touchdown. JMU is up 11-0. Then Carolina goes down and scores a touchdown. JMU punts. Carolina scores a touchdown. They take the lead. They were actually winning this ball game 14-11. 2 plays later, touchdown JMU, 18-14 Dukes. Then touchdown JMU, 25-14 Dukes. Carolina with a touchdown, making it 25-21. JMU with a touchdown, making it 32-21. Carolina punts. JMU, 2 plays, touchdown, 39-21. Carolina fumbles. JMU, 1 play, 27 yards, touchdown, 46-21. Carolina interception. JMU fumble. Carolina punt. JMU punt. Carolina throws a pick 6, 53-21. That's incredible. The over-under for this ball game was like 46.5. JMU got to it by themselves in the first half. Let's go over some of these. I mean, these statistics are going to be a little bit misleading because of the turnovers and such. Both teams had over 600 yards of offense. JMU 611 yards, Carolina 616. But of course, JMU's playing a bunch of their reserves in the second half. JMU averaged, this was going to be per play, but JMU had 11 yards, over 11 yards per pass attempt. Carolina had almost 10. A lot of penalties, 12 for JMU, 9 for Carolina. JMU had about a 8-minute differential in time of a possession, 34 to about 26. Alonza Barnett, his best game so far as a starter for JMU, 22 of 34, 388 yards, 5 touchdowns. Then he had 13 carries and 99 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. So tough to complain about Alonza Barnett III being the Sunbelt Offensive Player of the Week, even over my guy, Gio Lopez. All right. I mean, 7 touchdowns is 7 touchdowns. All right. That's outstanding. George Petway, he chipped in with 87 yards. They had 223 yards on the ground. Omarion Dollison had 125 yards catching, 3 receptions and a touchdown. Cam Ross had 7 catches for 107 yards and a touchdown. I mean, it was all JMU, and that's a big win for JMU. We didn't know what to make of JMU. I'll be the first one to tell you that, just because based on Charlotte was a nondescript win. It was a nice win, 30-7 on the road. And then they just laid a stinker, 13-6 against Gardner-Webb, but they won the football game. So It was a win to move on, but how do you get past Gardner-Webb 13-6 and then put 70 on North Carolina? Who would have saw that coming? Nobody. So really good job by Bob Chesney. They're 3-0, and if you can get Alonza Barnett to play somewhat like that, tough to ask him to have 7 touchdowns every week and be, responsible for about 500 yards of offense. That's outstanding. So congratulations to the Dukes. Off to a good start. They are 3-0. One of the teams we said had to have a win, and they did. Troy avoids going 0-4, in fact, with a big 34-12 win over Florida A&M. They did get their quarterback back, Goose Crowder, and he had a big week. 18 out of 25, 295 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Also complimentary football. Damian Taylor on the ground, 15 carries, 109 yards, and a touchdown. Devontae Ross had 11 catches, 229 yards. Someone may want to cover him if 11 out of the 18 completions are to one guy. He had 3 touchdowns, and that's a big win. Kind of get the monkey off the back for Jared Parker. Troy improves to 1-3, and they absolutely needed that win to avoid going 0-4. They do bring in Monroe into Troy. That seems a much more winnable ball game now for Troy. If they started 0-4, losing to A&M, and although Monroe lost to Texas, which we all expected them to do, it still would have been like, oh, this may not be quite as easy as usually we think it is to play a Monroe at home. So we'll see how Monroe bounces back. But good job by Troy to get that win and get Jared Parker his first win. Also, big news coming out of the Troy area. Our guy Josh Boutwell from the Troy Messenger seems to be on his road to recovery. It's been a battle. He has kept us up to date. We're wishing Josh all the best in his battle against cancer. And I think the same day it was like good news. I think was it Saturday? Was it both Saturday? Maybe it was both Friday. Chris Lewis, the wide receiver, who's going under his own cancer treatment. He finished up his treatment. He had his last treatment over the weekend as well. And so he's on the road to recovery. That's as great as a Troy victory is. It's good to hear that Josh and Chris are doing much better than they had been. So congratulations to Troy, and congratulations to Josh and Chris for battling what is sometimes not a winnable battle. So wishing them all the best and continued success off the field. Josh does a great job covering the team for the Troy Messenger, and Chris, as I think is a GA. He's basically being an assistant coach or helping out the team while he does recuperate, and hopefully he'll come back next season and play cancer-free. So we look forward to having him back on the field next year. All right. That was the good. All right. And not necessarily in the order we gave it to. All right. Chris and Josh's news is the best. JMU's victory was outstanding and a blowout from the get-go. Troy got off to a little bit of a slow start, but kind of took control as the game went on. That's the good news. There was a whole lot of bad news. All right. We will do that when we come back. We'll talk about the Cajuns in Tulane. A couple of things we need to get off the chest when we come back. Let me tell you about FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on NFL on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. All right. I backed away from the NFL this week. It was a bad week with college football. The JMU game, I did put the money line and the points, and that may have been the only one I won. Started out with South Alabama and App State not going over because of a missed extra point. Probably should have stopped right then and there. I did not. Okay. So a couple of things about this Tulane Cajuns ball game, and it's got to be said. People were, they were put in dangerous situations. I know it's on TV. LSU is on TV. LSU is at 2:30. Cajuns were at 11, and it's just too hot to have those games. Inexcusable, I would say, for the Cajuns to run out of water. I know people were tagging Dr. Brian Maggard. He's not actually in charge of the concession stands. He may hire the third party who does that, but that is inexcusable and dangerous not to have enough water. I remember, I think one day game when I was working for 103.7 The Game, it was Boise State maybe, we actually handed water out. Or may have been McNeese. It was an early game and it was hot, and we got like a moving truck, a U-Haul full of water, and we just made sure everybody had a bottle or two of water. You're running out of water in the fourth quarter would be bad enough, but my understanding is they ran out of water in the first quarter, certainly in the first half, and that is bad. All right, you can't have these early games in September just to put it on TV. Say no next time. All right, you got to look out for your fans and put them in a better spot. Look out for your players as well. I texted Maddie Hudak, who was gracious enough to come on. She's standing on that field, which I saw temperatures of 138 degrees. What are we doing? Come on. It's too dangerous to play a football game. It's too dangerous for the fans. You're putting a lot of people at risk for a couple extra bucks. All right. Let's make some smarter decisions moving forward. Now to the game. All right. This is the other thing we're going to get off the chest. All right. We mentioned this last week. Cortland Flowers let his team down. All right. I know he's got some serious issues off the field, and he needs to take care of those. And hopefully his family is being taken care of. All right. But when you do what he did, not one player was out of position or playing a new position, but two players were playing a new position. Somebody moved into Cortland Flowers' position. Someone had to take that player's position. I don't want to take anything away from Tulane. They're good. Darian Mensah is outstanding. But the defense was behind the eight ball because Cortland Flowers was being a selfish guy. All right. He decided whatever he needed to do was more important than being there for his teammates and for his coaching staff. All right. Coaching staff had no choice what to do. I'm certainly not disagreeing with what they did, but that put the Cajuns defense behind the eight ball, and that was part of it. All right. Do they need to find a kicker that can kick it through the end zone? Come on. I mean, is that a thing in 2024? If we're blaming that loss on the kickoff and the pick six, that's not right. The defense needs to make more stops. They didn't get enough stops. They got lucky. They got a stop at the end when they missed a field goal to keep them in the football game. All right. Although I think they did a good job of staying in the football game. All right. Ben Wooldridge played pretty well. What I didn't like to see at the end of the ball game was we're doing a lot of swing passes when we need 10 yards. You're asking somebody, A, to miss, and B, to make a move. You need somebody just to make a catch 10 yards down the road. All right. Or down the field, down the road. We got to be well aware of the situation. If you throw a pick because you got to throw it downfield 10 yards, then so be it. All right. Which is what happened anyway at the end. We'll get to that. The other thing, I guess I'm one of the only guys that doesn't understand the analytics of going for two. I am Mr. Aggressive, but I do not like chasing points. I do not care if it's at the end of the game or in the fourth quarter when it's 10 minutes to go, so you know what you need. I don't get it. I don't go for two unless I go for two every time. I don't go for two until I need to. I don't get the whole we're going to make it a 3-point game with 13 minutes left to go in the third quarter. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense because what happened? First of all, you don't know what's going to happen for the rest of the game, right? I get it if it's 3 minutes left. Okay. I get it. All right. But not in the third quarter, because if they tied that ball game, if they did score a touchdown at the end of the game, they would have needed two instead of for an extra point being a tie game. Don't chase the points. You have no idea what's going to happen moving forward. Okay. The other thing is, John Summerall does not subscribe to the Hugh Freeze style of defense, right? South Alabama played outstanding defense against App State, At the end of the half, rush 3, App State, Hail Mary, touchdown. All right. Different situation. Syracuse needing a stop on 4th and 9. Boy, that sounds familiar. Rushes 3. Quarterback can stand in the pocket, throw a nice back shoulder throw, gets him in position for Stanford to kick a game-winning field goal. Easy peasy, right? You know who didn't rush 3 on Saturday? John Summerall and Tulane. They rushed 5. And they brought a 6th. But because the 5 got to Ben Roldridge before the 6 could get in there, Ben had to throw it up for grabs, and it was an interception to end the ballgame. I'm not blaming Ben for throwing the interception. You got to throw it, and you credit Tulane is what I'm saying. All right, don't sit back and let the team pick you apart. All right. On the other side of things, Baylor did rush 5 or 6 against Shedeur Sanders, and you got to do the hat tip to him. That's the other part. He's rolling out to his left, setting up and not really winding up, kind of a flick of the wrist, because if he wound up, he would have gotten clobbered. So sometimes the other team wins, and the other team's trying to, but stop rushing 3 guys. In Hugh Freeze's case, it was 2. And it was getting hammered for the quarterback play, but we see a lot of teams allowing the quarterback to sit back there and throw. John Summerall didn't, and that's how Tulane ended up getting the win. All right, got that a lot there off my chest. All right, nice win for Tulane. Cajuns played pretty well, right? But a lot of things there to discuss. All right. Other than that, Marshall actually got off to a good start, right? But scoring on their first possession, but they lose to Ohio State 49-14. Again, Stone Earl ended up with cramps. He was 16 out of 21, 132 yards. Not much of a running game, 43 times for 125 yards. That's averaging less than 3 yards a carry. And again, this is a constant. If you don't have a quarterback, it's really hard to win in college football. It's just really hard to compete, no matter what level you're at. And I'm not sure if Marshall has their quarterback. 16 out of 21 isn't bad, but 6 yards a throw is not very good. All right, and you got to be able to run the football. That's against Ohio State. We will give them a pass. All right. And then ULM, the highlight was picking off Arch Manning, who shouldn't have thrown the ball. Right? I think he was throwing it in between 4 or 5 Warhawks. It was picked off. So good job by Monroe to pick off Manning. Manning had an okay game, not great by any stretch of imagination. 15 out of 29, 258 with 2 touchdowns, threw another interception. But obviously, Texas, number 1 team in the country, blows out Monroe 51-3. General Booty, 8 out of 19, 42 yards, 1 interception. The stats are what they are, kind of what you expected with Texas and Monroe. Monroe they do have, as we mentioned, Troy this coming Saturday in Alabama. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll wrap up with the rest of it. Not much better than what we just said. And are some people feeling the heat already on the coaching aspect of it? All right, let's take a timeout. We will tell you about game time, and then we'll wrap up the rest of Saturday's action from the Sun Belt. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks. That makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You can watch those. You can get it right in the app. I did it when I went to those Eastern Conference Finals, checked out the seats in the app. You can get that panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. You will have that lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference, and you get that Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. By the way, we're almost at 1,500. We have, at this recording, we have 1,489, and we're on the verge of having the biggest month in Locked On Sunbelt history. I know these, Power Four school conferences teams get thousands and thousands of views. We've been building this organically. I really appreciate everyone's support. We'll see if we can get 15,000 views this month, and that would be a record for Locked On Sunbelt. So I really appreciate it. Getting very close to the 1,500 subscriber mark, and then we'll see if we can get to 2,000 by December 31st, 2024. So again, thank you so much for all of your support. All right. All right. Elsewhere in the Sun Belt, I watched a little bit of this ball game. Georgia Southern was in it for a little bit. They were down 17-0 to Ole Miss. They actually scored, got an onside kick. I mean, it could have made it a ball game, and then it kind of got away from them. Rebels win it 52-13. Did they go over? Was it 65? Was it 65 and a half? Oh, the over-under got to 68 and a half. I don't think it was that much when I was talking to Stephen Willis on his podcast, Locked On Ole Miss. But again, some of the numbers kind of odd. I mean, J.C. French 20-28 sounds good, but 109 yards is not. That's less than 4 yards an attempt. Did throw one interception. Ole Miss is good. Ole Miss has as good a shot as anybody to win the national championship. Jackson Dart is outstanding, 22 of 31, 382 yards, throws 4 touchdowns, has an interception, ran for another 36 yards. Ole Miss is good. All right, and they're going to be tough. I mean, Texas, Tennessee, and Ole Miss, are really good, and they're all in the same conference. Let's see who Georgia Southern has. They have Georgia State this week, so they're going to have to bounce back, shake this one off. That is a big ball game as they're heading to Atlanta to take on the Panthers. This one caught me by surprise, to be honest with you. Jalen Raynor going through a sophomore slump. Iowa State 52, Arkansas State 7. I was a little bit surprised on this one. Jalen Raynor just 5 out of 16, 68 yards, a couple of interceptions. I thought Arkansas State was going to be able to compete in this one, and I was wrong. No competition from Iowa State. From Arkansas State. They're trailing 31-0 at the half. So really ugly ball game for the Red Wolves. We'll see if they can shake it off. And they do. They get a week off before playing. I would have said before JMU with the blow, I would have said the hottest team in the Sun Belt, South Alabama. So they get a week off before they're playing South Alabama on October the 5th. It should be noted, it came out Sunday night that Harold Perkins Jr., the middle linebacker for LSU, unfortunately tore his ACL against UCLA and will not be obviously out for the rest of the year. But South Alabama is traveling to Baton Rouge. LSU isn't that good. All right. They're not what they were last year. They weren't what they were with Burrow. They are slightly better than average SEC team, I think. We'll see. We'll see. We do have the Locked On Sunbelt signal for the coach who's heading to his hometown, bringing his team in. We'll see if we get Major Applewhite. No pressure. All right. So Arkansas State does have that week off. All right. This was one of the other two teams that had to win along with Troy. And I mean, they fell flat on their face. Jacksonville State defeats Southern Miss 44-7. 6 turnovers by Southern Miss, 4 interceptions and 2 fumbles. Just bad football. 1 for 10 on third down. Defensively, they're giving up 509 yards to Jacksonville State, who was 0-3 until this ball game. Obviously, you keep on turning the ball over, and your offense doesn't do anything, the defense is going to wilt, and that's what happened. It's a bad look. Southern Miss is in trouble. My Fighting Will Halls are in trouble. Southern Miss gets a week off before they're taking on the Cajuns. The Cajuns just came off their week off before Tulane. Cajuns are getting Wake Forest coming up. We'll see if they bounce back. I think that spread was a pick'em. Can you imagine that? The Cajuns were a pick'em on the road against Wake Forest. We'll see if that line changes. But so Southern Miss has a week off to gather themselves. They're hosting the Cajuns. This has been a bugaboo for UL. All right. They can't seem to lose to Texas State, and they can't figure out a way to beat Southern Miss. So it's been a minute since they've beaten Southern Miss. I certainly know that hasn't been the last 2 years. So we'll see if the Cajuns can go into Hattiesburg in a couple weeks. They'll worry about that in a couple weeks. But Southern Miss needs a win in the worst of ways. We'll see if any changes are coming forth. It's a tough spot to have your coach be fired right now. I'm not sure what that accomplishes, but we'll see. All right, it's hoping the wheels do not come off for the Fighting Will Halls. All right, and then probably a little bit disappointing because I'm not sure Virginia's all that good. Coastal Carolina got blown out 43-24. This was 27-10 at halftime. Ethan Vasco just didn't play that well. 10 out of 21, 222 yards, a touchdown, interception. Unfortunately, he led the team in rushing, 8 carries, 24 yards. You're just not going to win too many ball games when you're carrying the football 24 times for 82 yards, 3.4 average. They threw it a bunch trying to get back in the game. Noah Kim did play 6 out of 12 for 80 yards and 1 touchdown, but that's got to be a disappointing, very disappointing result for Coastal Carolina. Just not competing. They could not get off the field. Virginia converted 9 out of 18 third downs. Then they went and converted 2 out of 3 fourth downs. So out of those 18 third downs that they tried to convert, they went for the fourth down 3 times. They converted 2 of them. All right. Coastal gave up 525 yards total. 384 of that is on the ground. I just don't think Virginia's that good. They eked by Wake Forest 31-30. They lost to Maryland 27-13 at home, and they beat Richmond 34-13. I just don't think Virginia's that good, but they did a number on Coastal Carolina. Who's Coastal got coming up? Let's see who Coastal has coming up. See if they can bounce back with the win. They got a big ball game with Old Dominion, also a week away. All right, Old Dominion and Texas State, among others, were off this week. So Old Dominion was off. Who do they have? They're looking for a big win. They're at Bowling Green. And they're at Bowling Green. They're at Coastal Carolina. They're at Georgia State. Yeesh. Bowling Green is 1-2 with a 7-point loss to Penn State and a 6-point loss to A&M. Whew. Bowling Green's got their win over Fordham. That is not going to be easy for ODU. No. But Coastal will have a week off to get ready for Old Dominion. Okay. Hopefully we're going to preview a lot this week. We may end up previewing the South Alabama game twice. Reached out to Matt Moscona from Locked On LSU. We'll see if we can work through each other's schedule. And again, we've reached out to Major Applewhite to see if he has time to come on. Probably also going to preview Georgia State and Georgia Southern with my guy Ben Moore from 24/7 and GSU Panther Talk. All right, so lots to do, lots to talk about. That was a bad week. There's no other way of saying it. JMU had a good week. Troy had a good week. South Alabama had a good week. Not anybody else had a good week. App State had a bad week. Southern Miss had a bad week. Some of those other ball games are expected. I did not expect Iowa State to blow out Arkansas State. I did not see that one coming. Beat them, sure. I may have taken the Red Wolves out of a homer, but I didn't think they were going to get blown out like they did. And a frustrating loss all the way around for the Cajuns in terms of the time of the game. It's too hot, run out of water. You're going for 2 when you should kick it. And your defense was behind the 8 ball because someone was very selfish and now seems to be in trouble with the law. No. That is not great. All right. So we'll collect ourselves. We'll bounce back, and we'll have another good week of a Locked On Sunbelt. Again, we're headed towards our best month ever. So I want to thank you so much for all of that. Have a great week. Have a great week, everybody. And we'll talk to you again on Tuesday. You've been watching and listening to Locked On Sunbelt with me, Dave Schultz, your team every day.